What's going on, guys? It is day 50 of no gambling. I hope everybody is doing well. I hope everybody that's out there on this journey with me is keeping their streaks alive as well. I'm feeling pretty good today. Um, why, you might ask? Well, if you were watching the last video, you probably saw that I was talking about trying to sell some of my precious metals. Um, and right now, the price of precious metals is through the freaking roof. So I'm in a good mood because I have an appointment, with a currency and metals dealer tomorrow to take a look at some, I've got some silver and I've got some gold that I'd like to sell. And basically the amount will be enough to, for the most part, wipe out my credit card balance, which will be huge because that's obviously the highest interest debt. And also, I'm just, I've been doing my taxes, and it's tax season here um, where I live. So because I'm self-employed, I'm able to file taxes earlier than regular employed people, which anyways, so I've been looking at it, putting in all my information, and this being the first year that I'm reporting a full year of completely self-employed income, um, looks like I'm actually going to owe some taxes. Of course, you gotta love the government. Um, so yeah, anyways, it would have really sucked to have to pay a chunk of taxes when obviously I'm already, you know, not in a good financial position as far as debt, and the emphasis wants to be on paying debt, not paying taxes, unfortunately. But anyways, the timing is good for me to get some cash coming in by hopefully selling off some of these precious metals, um, to not only kill the credit card, but also give me some breathing room to pay the taxes that I owe for the 2025 income. Um, Now, I mean, this isn't all sweet because there is the other side of the coin, which is the reality that, I had hoped that I would be able to use the money from things like, this metal that I'm going to sell to do something nice for myself, to do something nice for me and my girlfriend, to invest, to go on a trip, something positive. And instead, the reality is the consequence of my actions. Now I have to use those, savings essentially to pay debt. So that sucks. But, I'm looking at it positively that this is going to be a massive step towards creating more momentum, especially given the fact that I feel like I'm going very strong this time, making it 50 days in, but not just 50 days by myself, 50 days with the support structure in place, with my family knowing, which was different last time. Last time that I quit, I did it completely by myself, which, not to stroke my own ego or something, but even looking back, I'm impressed that I was able to stop completely for 6 or 7 months, right? Approximately that period of time, um, while still completely hiding it from everybody, right? My parents, girlfriend, nobody knew. And I was just like suffering on my own and managed to force myself to stop. But I think that because I was hiding it, that's also part of the reason why it made it easier for me to relapse and slip back into it. Once I started playing the video games, which led to the loot boxes, which led to the skin sites, which led back to the casinos, right? Um, Whereas this time around, I feel that, with the accountability, the external accountability of my members in my family knowing, of everybody watching these videos, everybody that's joined the Discord server. I have a greater system of support and accountability to prevent me from creating a relapse. And I do feel more specific and structured as far as my kind of plan and my motivation and my mindset towards tackling the problem of the debt. Now that the mental burden of the gambling addiction has eased off a little bit, right? Like it's hard to think about or even conceptualize when you're in the middle of the addiction or you're dealing with kind of the fallout. Maybe you realize that you need to stop. You just had some big losses, and now you've taken a couple of days off. You're trying, and you experience this mental anguish where you're saying, how the hell could I have done this to myself? Questioning yourself, reliving the moments. Why did I do this? Why didn't I do that? I should have done this differently, this or that. And that also lends itself to a feeling of hopelessness as far as you have this number that you have to pay off that's in your head. It's this massive number, and you're like, how will I ever, what have I done to myself? How will I ever deal with this? So I think, as a piece of advice, and at least what's feeling better for me this time around, was just I had to be solely focused on just stopping the behavior first, before I felt like I could start seriously, thinking about the plan for undoing the harm financially that I've done. And so, like my my therapist always says, because since I've been seeing him, I've been seeing him for a little while now, and there's been periods where I've done, done good, and then there's periods where I've relapsed. So there's been one or two times while I've been with him that I've relapsed, and at least I've been able to share that with him. And what he's always kind of said is, it sucks, it happened, but there's no benefit in dwelling on it, aside from obviously you have to accept it and take responsibility. You have to acknowledge that this is what happened, and this is what you've done to yourself. But then you have to focus on the next step, because the more that you dwell and ruminate on the problem, the worse you're going to feel about yourself mentally. And at least for me, and I would assume for a lot of you guys as well, those feelings can be the trigger that makes you want to gamble again, because the gambling makes you feel good. Your brain wants to feel good, wants to feel happy. You get those chemicals, you get those emotional releases from gambling. So, I have a problem where I really, really tend to think about, if something's bugging me, I'll sit there and I'll think about it, and I'll chew it up and mull it over and go over it again and again, and it'll pop into my head, and I create greater problems in my mind oftentimes than they are in reality. And so obviously with the gambling situation, that's been an issue as well, where it kind of is a, how can you say it? It's like a spiral where, you feel bad because you lost money gambling, and you're thinking about the fact that you lost the money, which makes you feel worse. And because you feel bad, then that makes you want to gamble, and then you gamble, and then you lose money, and then you're thinking about the fact that you lose money, and you feel worse, and then you feel worse, so then you want to gamble, and it just continues, right? This kind of cycle, at least for me. So, yeah, I've gotten better at accepting that, look, I have a problem. Some of the times these things are going to happen, thankfully 50 days, obviously it hasn't happened, and now I feel much better about it. But I think being able to internalize that, not to just sit and beat yourself up and just sit and think about the problem and ruminate and fester, because that just makes it worse. So being able to just like move on when it happens and focus on the next steps, do what everything that you need to do to physically prevent the behavior until you've had enough time away from the behavior where the urges and the mental sides start to dissipate, and then you can focus on the debt or whatever the other situation might be. Um, Now, aside from that, a couple of things I wanted to address. So, one, again, I was talking about this in a previous video, but I wanted to give you a follow up because now things have been put into place. So, one of my prior videos, somebody commented and said that they were actually getting like casino advertisements on my videos, which obviously I don't want. Gambling, pro gambling, or anything related to that, advertisements on my anti gambling videos channel. So, anyways, the only way for me to control the ads that YouTube wants to put on my videos is for me to select to turn on the ads and then choose which categories to exclude. So I finally crossed 1,000 subscribers, which is amazing. Thank you guys. So what that does is that's allowed me to turn on the monetization and I excluded gambling as well as some other related topics. So if you guys see videos on the ads, that's why. Yeah, the biggest thing is that's the only way that I can control it. So yeah, I just want to be transparent with you guys. I'm not sure. I know that, even before I was able to turn on the monetization, YouTube was just putting ads on some videos anyways, if it wants to. So hopefully the ad experience is not terrible. It's not overwhelming. If you get in too many ads, drop a comment below and I'll try to see if I can reduce it. But at the very least, you shouldn't be getting ads for casinos and stuff like that on these videos. But yeah, outside of that, I've been keeping pretty busy. I'm still working every weekend. So, that's been keeping me active, keeping a little bit of extra money coming in. I've actually been interviewing for a part-time position as a contractor for training with basically there's a corporate office that offers training as part of their package for their employees, and they have an on-campus gym. So basically what they need is just somebody to come in once or twice a week, and just essentially, they have the clients ready to go. They just need somebody to come in and train them. So that's going so far well. I've made through 2 interviews and going to a 3rd round this week, which will pretty much probably just be finalization. So anyways, that'll secure a decent chunk of additional income every month. I talked a little bit about, my job as a trainer and how I really enjoy it and I can make good money, but it's also inconsistent income, being self-employed. So, one of the things with training is it's sales, realistically, right? If you want to gain clients, you need to sell them. And also the other way that the payment process works that can influence your income is oftentimes, you'll have people that are buying, let's say, a package of sessions. So let's say maybe, 1 month you have a few people that either purchase or renew sessions and you collect several payments that month. But then now those clients, have sessions to go off for maybe the next couple of months, right? So that in itself, aside from just, the natural ups and downs in sales and service-based industries, can make it where, you have a really great month and then maybe you have a kind of a shitty month and then a good month and then a great month and then a really bad month. And it can be a little bit all over the place. So anyways, I think it'll be nice for me to work in tandem part-time with a gym that just kind of has a fixed amount of hours and just, the clients are there and it's just like, hey, we're going to pay you this much to train these clients. and it's not a huge hourly commitment. It's just like once or twice, 1 or 2 shifts per week, which means that I can very easily still balance that with my existing clientele for my own private business. So yeah, that will be good. So fingers crossed that everything works out there. But yeah, the additional money would definitely go a long way as far as helping me continue to build momentum, getting out of the hole. So that will be good, hopefully. And on another note, if you've been following along, you might know that I am currently cutting some weight. So ever since the summer of 2024, which is when I did my last competition, I've just been in a long off-season bulk. So I've been, eating with the purpose of gaining weight. And, towards the end of Christmas, I've been basically bulking for a year and a half. And then Christmas, I was just eating whatever I wanted. So anyways, since then, I've lost about 11 pounds. I got down to 173 this week and planning to continue pushing down over the course of the next several months. And basically, we're just going to get shredded. And if everything's going well, then I'll probably hop into competition this summer again and see if we can do another run at the national competition. But yeah, so far so good. I feel, I was pretty out of being dialed in on the diet. Like, after a while, my diet got pretty loose, and I was definitely eating some unhealthy foods and just snacking and just kind of having the freedom to eat whenever I wanted. And so it took me, a couple of weeks to kind of get back in the swing of, a little bit more tracking, a little bit more selective, bringing down the calories, not always giving in to every craving, not snacking at night, things like that. But it's, in the same way as the gambling, the longer that you say no, the easier that it gets. So I'm starting to finally see some visual changes, like my waist is coming in, and it's just getting easier for me to just like not eat as much, right? End of the day, that's all it takes. If you want to lose weight, you got to eat less and move more. That's your two options. So yeah, it's going well. Down 11 pounds, probably about 30 more pounds to go, because I compete in bantamweight, which is 142.5 pounds weight cap. So yeah, sounds like a lot, but over the course of several months, it's not a big deal. So we'll keep pushing. But yeah, everything's going well. I hope you guys are doing well. Thanks again for 1,000 subscribers. You guys are awesome. Thank you for following along. As always, the Discord link will be in the bio. I'm sorry, I'm not a very tech savvy, Discord savvy person, so I was posting expiring links, which is why everybody's complaining that the links are always expiring. Anyways, the links from here forward should be permanent links. So I went back to the first video, because obviously that's the video that's gotten the most views, and I replaced the links in there so that everybody has a permanent link there, and then any of the new videos coming out will have permanent links as well. So join the Discord, subscribe, follow along, drop a comment. If there's something that you want to hear me speak about, if there's a topic you want to address, if you want to share your story through me, drop a comment. Let me know. Because, again, I don't want the videos to get too monotonous. I want to be able to provide some value, and just change it up, keep it entertaining as well as informative. So please feel free to give me feedback. But yeah, let's keep it going. Day 50. We're almost at 2 months, baby. We're almost at 2 months. So hope everybody has a great week, and best of luck. And yeah, thanks for watching. Have a good one. Peace.